Okay, sorry guys. I'm diving right into it, and I accidentally started the game before I went and hit recording. But what's up, Fox Gang? Welcome back to another episode of Ace Attorney. I hope you guys have all been having a fantastic day, weekend. I don't really know when these videos are all going up anymore, so it's a lot harder for me to figure out when they're going up. So again, I hope you guys are having a great time. Now, it's the final day of the trial. Since it's the final trial, I'm gonna crunch this down into one video, just one ultimate video, and we're gonna see how this goes. So, here we go, everybody. February 25th, 9:47 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. This is the defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. Been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Oh, sorry. Edgeworth! Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777777 ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling, 5 minutes, Wright. And Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here to what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Yeah, no kidding. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid, today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright? You know he's on our side. He's not thinking about it, he is on our side! But he's gonna play like he's not. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. February 25th, 10 a.m., District Court, courtroom number 9. Here we go, guys. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution put forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant? Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Uji! Aji! Been back to the pool yet? No, I've been droning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana, Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there is no further need to continue this trial. even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to contend... I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy, you'll live to regret this, mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Yes! Thank you, Edgeworth! Ooh. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. You sure gave in? I mean, by this point, we've proven that it's relevant. Everything is connected to the SL9 case. What kind of judge needs to ask if the case is relevant? Now, please testify what happened to you 2 years ago. Well, I guess only an idiot judge would need to ask at this point. I'm sorry, Judgy. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. 2 years ago, I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire his courage considering he has no evidence. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Hold on. I need to take a look at something. Hold on, before I give that, I want to press and get all the details so that this way we really get into this, okay? I want to make sure we're getting every statement. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes, she was second in command under the then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever. Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Skye used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage. A man? Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out? Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, but just then, lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. So, you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes. That's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw. Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken? But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. Guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. This scene that imprinted an image in your mind, can you please describe it to us? The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. That must have been a real shock. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly. Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Joe Dark was holding you hostage. When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside, and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them. Emma doesn't have any reason to lie, but Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. We'll hold off on that, but for now, I'm sorry about this, Emma, but it needs to be done. Your Honor, Wait, what? What did I click on? Stabbed in the back. No, this is the right thing. I guess it doesn't want me to use that just yet? Which is weird. Like, why should it matter which order I do? All right, Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet, you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold, this is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over. Turn it... Ah! What's this? Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew! Like... Hello, she said that he stabbed him in the chest. And the autopsy says he was stabbed in the back. Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here. It was a contradiction. I don't see a reason why that should have been stopped. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in the case ever reached you. What? What? Oh boy. Order! Order! But, Miss Skye, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor! Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head! If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's... Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing! Oh, that's that thing! That thing that was dancing in the evidence room! Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated to the court record. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think that a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Okay. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. Press. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later. The memory should still have been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. So, at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue. No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? After that, I must have fainted. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. I want to take another look at something real quick. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course, this is the exact scene. It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. Better watch out, or he might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture?
Huh? Oh, well... That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. Let me go take another look at this. Alright, I'm trying to see if I can... Okay, date, single stab wound piercing heart and lung, assessment... What is the contradiction exactly here? Stabbed in the back, died from a punctured heart and lung. Okay, I'm gonna have to experiment a little bit here. All right. All right, I'm lost on this one. All right, I'll take the penalty because honestly speaking, I'm a little lost. All right, let me try this again. Q. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course. All right, I think in this case, I think this is about the time to mention the autopsy. Okay, the music stopped. And so that always tells me, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. Part of this picture contradicts what part of this autopsy?
I think it's, this part here.
I don't see what's so...
That's because the drawing stinks. Mr. Wright, how could you? Okay, that's not what I meant. Alright. I don't know. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece. Okay, so it was a knife, but I was like, just the fact... Guys, the fact he was stabbed in the back is a contradiction in and of itself. The fact that the other figure is facing forward. The logic in this game makes no freaking sense. Look, I try to be as calm as I can be with this game when referring to some of the BS logic of it, but it's like there's a clear contradiction because the scene shows the guy who is on the ground turning around. He would have been stabbed in the front, not the back. It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Ah! What's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right, but what does this mean?
Why is everyone slamming their desk? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, Wright? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah!
Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying! The man really was holding up a broken knife! If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being 2 broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's? Could there have been one? If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken to the prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. If anything's broken here, it's you.
Huh? I'm sure this must all be very amusing to you, Mr. Wright.
Well, that was... Jerks. I was thinking that the answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Seriously, it's like, if you would have just given me the chance, I could have... It made sense, in my opinion. It's like, okay, I need to show the actual logic behind this. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the awards ceremony. Oh, sorry. This is a picture of the awards ceremony.
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award prosecutor Marshall is holding?
That's
a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Wait, so the knife can be like drawn out of the shield or something?
Order, order, order!
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Drake, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Ah!
But the prosecutor was the one who actually died.
That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back.
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you recalled, Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up and now the blue badger?
This should be interesting.
What is the... I knew that thing was the stuff of nightmares. Emma, I totally understand. I would lock that thing out of my memories too, I promise you. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Yes, well, the defense may now...
Stop, please! Don't pursue this any further! Anna?
What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports.
So then you...
I panicked and rushed toward both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. What do you mean you think? It all happened so fast and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly what I did. It's all kind of a blur. Miss Sky was almost killed before she was a witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next?
Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him, here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him somewhere before. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother, just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, were you in the room? When you were in the room, did you see him dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. It had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, by all means, please show us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? I wonder. I have a thought of what she thought she saw. Okay, is there a way for me to rotate this? Okay, it's H in BM. But what if she saw it from this angle? Okay, so everything seems to point that the horns ultimately were pointing this way. I'm trying to think. What was it when... Who is this blue badger really? Alright, I'm gonna go back to the court record. I want to take another examination of it. Because my money is, like, really on this vase item. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, how she might have thought about it. Like, what angle she could have possibly seen it. Oh, I think I've got it now. If this was knocked over, it would have looked like the blue badger. The blue badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright?
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that this witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike.
The mysterious blue badger was in fact this.
But that's... what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed, it doesn't as it stands now. It's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Okay, I really hate this thing sometimes. Okay, let me try this again. Alright. There we go. This isn't right. I gotta take a more... Allow me to remind the defense, it's Kate... I mean, that looks pretty close. That, like, in my opinion. Okay, so let me see. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, oh my god, please stop playing that damn music. I am getting so frustrated with this thing. Okay, this is by far the dumbest case I have ever done. What are you talking about? That's about as close as I can get it. Okay. Oh my god, this is so stupid. Who designed this aspect? Like, who the hell designed this? Yeah, I'm having to look up a guide for this because this is so fucking stupid. Alright. At this point, I'm just like, I am just looking for... Alright, let me see... No, I'm definitely pissed because I've tried this angle I don't know how many times. And all it is apparently just... That's all it is. That's all it is. I've done this angle I have done this fucking angle 20 fucking times in the last few minutes. And it said no. Because no, this shit has to be like, oh, you gotta be this exact fucking angle. Oh my god, you are the most piece of shit game I've ever... I love this game so much. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be. I am so mad. I wasted, I don't know how much time going through that.
Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed. Very well then. Please tell us what's different now that we know the witness saw this jar. The murder weapon, the murderer, the location. Okay, I'm gonna save. Just in case. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason.
Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright?
I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying?
That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit?
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword.
Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking... Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility?
Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless... I don't know if I can go through with this.
Mr. Wright, what's the matter?
If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh shit. I swear to God, if he's confused, I'm gonna punch his ass. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this.
So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented!
Yeah, no shit! What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances... Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall! How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe in your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility.
You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one manner or another. That's impossible!
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek, the truth. No matter how painful it may be.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
So, when I was looking up the guide to figure out the answer here, I'm sad to say I kind of found it. So, I don't feel very successful about this. This is the message left by the deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see the faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there is a line here, drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines? Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away, but blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do to connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No.
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us?
Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Gotta connect these dots to make the letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Oh boy. Oh, hold on. Okay. Wait, backspace. Undo. Yeah. Oh, man. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Shit.
Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life
Was Emma Skye. My... Seaworthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dock was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Ugh! Yes, Worthy, because of you. An innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice? What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter, even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. Order! 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 I'll take fries with that hamburger. The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. My God, what? I gotta go ahead and say this. I never saw this one coming. And the fact that we're diving right into everything is it feels great. I love doing this as a finale. Alright guys, here we go. February 25th, 12:06, District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 2. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals.
I take it Lana's having you run errands again?
Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial.
Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really.
The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message.
A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on...
You're going to need this book.
Him? I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Evidence law securely slipped in the pocket.
Doesn't look that book to do you any good now.
I'm gonna go ahead and read it, just to be certain. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Rule number 2, unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial.
All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence.
That's where you're wrong, Detective.
Huh?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all these allegations being thrown at me.
Mr. Edgeworth!
The real trial today hasn't begun yet.
What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused a man's death, and now you're telling me you want to do more? You've got to be kidding me, pal!
You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there.
What?
And we're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. February 24th, 5th, 1252, District Court, Courtroom Number 9.
Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth?
Yes, Your Honor.
The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions.
Thank you for the news, Your Honor.
Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have,
struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses.
I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and...
Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution.
A solution?
That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing.
Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well, the defense accepts the prosecution's proposal.
Then it's settled. The, defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. Wright, you do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls... The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. Damon Gant! The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand!
Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything?
As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. All right. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation! So, you want to play hardball, eh?
Please, Mr. Gant.
Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. All right, what's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all of this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure, take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify.
Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
Is that when Dark was arrested?
He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head.
I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut.
If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Doc and made him run away like that. Was the defendant Lana Skye also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Doc ran for it. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right, but Doc made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went downstairs, I guess you could say. He got lucky! What's this about a power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden, and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went into his heart, though. That's not funny. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Doc was also lying, collapsed on the floor. Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. How can you know that? Because of the victim's body, it had already been moved. So that means you found the body near Lana's desk. That's right. I think you said earlier it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor. Yes. Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office. That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt. But moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable no matter what the circumstances. Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you'd better be off staring at the court record. Worthy, always the smooth talker. But which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence. But that can't be the whole truth. Somehow, I've got to link Gant to the incident. If you really had nothing to do with the forgery, then how do you explain this?
What's this? And what's that on it? A handprint?
Chief Gant, your explanation, please. I don't know. You tell me, son, huh? My dear Raito, don't you know the second rule of evidence law? Uh-oh, not this again. Rule 2, unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Tell me, how is that rag relevant to this trial?
It appears the defense was not prepared.
I guess it's too early to use this piece of evidence.
Please accept my profound apologies, Chief. Would you mind giving the defense another chance?
Well, okay, I'll do it just this once, but only because you asked, Uji.
Thank you. I assure you the defense is terribly sorry.
Yeah, sorry I didn't nail you. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Alright, let me just take a look at a few things. Edward Jones, trial data. Okay, date and time of death, February 19th, between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Cause of death? Let me see, You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example.
That's the list Emma Sky drew her picture on.
This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of this jar that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe.
It was found where?
You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation.
Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this?
Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Rido? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy, not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work.
Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and the relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene.
My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Doc was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Oh, I hate this guy.
Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor.
When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol.
You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Indeed, I believe I will press charges so you won't make the same mistakes again.
My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know.
All right, OG. In return, though?
I know, that place, right?
Huh? What are these guys, telepathic? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. I'd appreciate if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped...
Mr. Wright, what are you saying?
Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later. Later? What are you talking about? What else? I'm talking about when Raito's prints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, they would prove his investigation was illegal. Grr, I've never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe, such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery, I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Doc was convicted, then they're worthless. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Doc was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient, right? The chief is talking about a possibility. So long as you can't rule that out, your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know. Come now, Righto! Think about it. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember, who was it that murdered Neil?
I'm not sure I care for the word murder here, but in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye.
Well, now do you see? Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police.
Oh?
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Oh, oh, that's a good one. Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway. Ah! Be careful when pointing that finger or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Uji, would you mind if I changed my testimony a little?
By all means, please do.
I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Nothing in it for you. Sorry, but the only one person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the Chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
That's not what I mean.
Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Grant may have helped forge evidence?
I would say...
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye? The defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all this?
He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets?
I'm going to smack the shit out of this judge.
Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive, to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. Right, oh my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Which one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial, almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? Order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder, that's impossible.
Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. All right then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. This is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits? You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Dude, wow.
Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations, and I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't happen to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant. I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? The trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. The trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Grant on the day of the crime.
Bum 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 bum. If I had to guess, I would say that my evidence is this note. No, there's got to be something more on that day. Detective Goodman had to see. Sorry to interrupt
Your mumblings, but the court is waiting.
Oops. Why don't you come meet with me tomorrow? Perhaps we could write up your letter of termination. Regardless, you did see Goodman that day.
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to ask for evidence.
Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So, Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the chief of police. Yet you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it? How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day.
He needed to?
Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh!
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Grant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on, let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly.
But wait! The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something like that. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! Oh my gosh! What was that? Did he get electrocuted?
Chief Gant, you didn't!
The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you just think I ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office? I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. All this time, I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space.
How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, the Chief Gant used this. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
A parking stub? Miles Edgeworth.
You mean... The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. You mean I carried the victim's body? Precisely so. But wait, even you know, I didn't plan on returning to my office after the ceremony finished that day. But you did return. Tell me why. I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. So you see, what you were really taking to the prosecutor's office wasn't the screwdriver, but the victim's body in your trunk.
Yo, this is...
Oh my god.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car?
Yo, this is by far the most convoluted mess ever. Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye.
Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
I believe... Your time's up.
My time's up?
Sorry, Wright, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman, that's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show me your proof and get it over with.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright,
Your Honor?
Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body.
Do I have any concrete proof? Alright, half-written document dated 2/21 can only be submitted to the chief of police. Final fragment found in Chief Gant's safe. Emma is written on the surface. Alright, this one's pretty tough because I really don't know. Do I have any concrete proof? Tagged evidence from the SL9 incident, extremely thin rubber glove. Final fragment found in Chief Gant's office, safe, None of this would prove it, of course. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Alright, let me... I don't know which... I don't know what would be considered... I can't let him just squirm his way out of this. I got to keep the pressure on. Yes, Your Honor, I do have such evidence.
Then please hurry up and present it. Just remember, it better prove Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman beyond a shadow of a doubt.
The murder weapon, usually in Edgeworth's toolbox. Traces of victim's blood, no prints. Death due to loss of blood, one knife wound, died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. Alright, I'm gonna have to... Oh shit, I can't save. Found in Chief Gant's safe. Evidence for something, but what? Bears Emma Sky's prints. Tagged evidence from the SL9 incident, extremely thin rubber gloves. Okay, bears Emma Sky's prints. What am I thinking? Alright, so we know that... Alright, my brain has no idea what I'm supposed to be clicking. And so, I'm really having... Found in Chief Gant's safe, evidence for something, but what? Bears in the sky's prints. I'm genuinely, like, lost. This is stressful. Okay. So, I need to prove beyond shadow of a doubt. Now, a part of me is, like, looking at this. The piece of cloth found in Chief Gant's safe. Evidence for something, but what? Bears Emma Sky's prints. Not only that.
So, what exactly it's proof?
As to whether or not it's enough to demonstrate the chief's guilt, I'll let you be the judge.
But I am the judge.
Oh, right. What do you think, Your Honor? Okay, save here so I can experiment a bit more. Because otherwise, this is gonna go bad. Please, Your Honor, give me just a little longer to consider.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will...
Okay, I can't let him just squirm his way out on this. Okay. Honestly, the screwdriver seemed pretty good because it definitely proves he was in the evidence room. He had to have gone there. I mean, and we see... Alright, alright. I gotta think about this one. Evidence for something, but what? Bears Emma Sky's prints. Okay, nope. Nope. Alright, so I hate the cheat method here, but, yeah. I hate cheating on this one, but I kind of got to take it. I don't think I have decisive evidence. If you want me to be honest. I'm really just trying to bullshit my way through this. What is the evidence? Evidence room floor plans. The scene of the stabbing of a detective at the police department. So, we ultimately know he entered the room. I'm thinking either the knife or the floor plan, to be honest. Because nothing else really makes sense. Although Goodman's autopsy report might be a good one as well. I really don't know. All right, let me think here. Photo at the awards ceremony, grants. Alright, decisive evidence. Decisive evidence. Alright, let me think on this one. Alright, so I'm just basically choosing bullshit evidence at this point and hoping something eventually sticks. Honestly speaking, I might not have any decisive evidence at all. I might not have any decisive evidence. So maybe this is a trick one? Final fragment found in Chief Grant's safe. Emma is written on the surface in blood. Only the assigned detectives can unlock it. Indicator lamp lights up when it's open. Tagged evidence from the SL9 incident. Extremely thin rubber gloves. Did I present this earlier? Okay, load. Yeah, alright, so that's not gonna work. Alright, I hate this method so much because it feels cheap. And it lets me just kind of bullshit the whole thing. So you showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself? No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. See, OG?
In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Uji, I'll leave the rest to you.
I warned you early, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency.
What? Okay, so yeah, I had nothing. Lady Luck, maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean?
There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. Lady who knows the truth? Another witness? In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Grant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room.
Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today.
Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist?
She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. So I'm sorry I spent so much time going with that, but I really wanted to see if there was something we could get him right off the bat. But apparently there wasn't.
The defendant, Miss Lana Skye?
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task to dispose of the victim's body, in accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well, the court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in
Hold on. Huh?
Chief Grant, I thought you were going to eat.
Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right, your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Ah, this isn't good. Of course you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then, I've got a lunch date to meet.
Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
I'm sorry, this dude just comes up to the freaking mile and threatens someone right out in the freaking open, and the judge is just like, oh, well, hunky-dory, go about your day. You son of a... Oh my god. February 12th, I can't. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth.
That chief, he's something else, eh, pals?
Detective Gumshoe.
I'm not a detective anymore.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Don't worry, I've already decided where to work now, at your office.
My office?
Sure, I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with.
Could he mean... Maya?
Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand?
It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said.
But Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Risks? What did he mean by that? It's simple. The chief refuses to testify. The opposite holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah, now I finally know it really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man, and she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean, to follow Chief Gant's orders? She must have shut herself up deep inside to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal.
Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see.
Well, we'd better get back. It's time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait here? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. So, oh my god. What is this case? What on earth is this case? Trial Ladder 2! Okay! Wow! If I had known that there was a Trial Ladder 2, I would not have said I was going to do this all at once. So the finale might just get split into 2 episodes. So I apologize for that. Oh my gosh. This is just nuts.
Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand?
Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years.
Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye, and remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth.
Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister.
Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant.
Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma.
Are you sure about this testimony?
Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana...
If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this.
That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself.
The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Gant and the fabrication. Ugh. How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years.
Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases.
She must have been good, coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why. But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana.
So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago.
When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken Prosecutor Award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, then moved the body.
You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound? Then you moved the body. But why would you do that?
You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders.
My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of the others.
But why did you do that? Come now, Mr. Wright, even you should be able to figure it out.
Very well, let's add this to the witness's testimony. The reason Miss Sky fabricated the knife.
I knew the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. According to your testimony, Prosecutor Marshall's broken knife was the murder weapon, right? Yes, and leaving it at that might point the blame away from Dark. I felt the most effective way to get him convicted would be by having the tip of his knife found inside the victim's body.
So you buried it inside the victim's stab wound?
Yes, because I hated Dark for what he did. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it, period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence. She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. I've got to get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. Alright, this is, interesting. Near the tip of the weapon, bound... Okay. Never mind. Alright, sorry, I'm just like, I've been curious about that single piece of evidence, and I've just been trying to see where I can put that. It had nothing to do with Emma. Knew the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. Broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted inside the wound, then moved the body. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound. Perpetrator, trial data, Date and time of death, February 19th, between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Cause of death, single stab wound, piercing heart, lung. Assessment, died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing tip. Can I get this again, please? Did you... Hold on. The autopsy report has me, I need to take another look at this. You say you did this all by yourself. Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean, Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark. Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Drake was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cut... all just to protect me.
So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the body, and planted it inside the wound, then moved the body. I knew the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. Okay. This is so stupid. It's like, it's not even... Whatever. Whatever. Just, what? Alright, let me try this again. Okay, I'm hating this because it's like the logic of this doesn't make any sense. Okay, maybe it's just like I'm reading too much into it or not reading enough. Alright, the scene, so you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't... Alright, let me think. I have to figure out how to prove she's lying. And so, I really got to think about how I'm going to do this. Okay, let me go back through the statements, see if there's anything else that I can talk about this. I can see, alright, so how many years exactly? 5. Detective Grant, yada yada yada. Can't. Sorry, my bad. She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. But think about it. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to work this angle. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. Didn't want that incident to ruin her life. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana. So that's why you fabricated evidence 2 years ago. You say you did this all by yourself. Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seemed I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes, I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, then moved the body.
You plant? Then you move the body?
But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know. Head is... Okay, why did you move the body? When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple.
Let's have the witness explain this in more detail.
Okay, I just didn't think to go back to that. That's on me.
The reason Miss Guy moved the body.
The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Pieces of the jar? You mean... Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Drake committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle.
I see.
What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there is more to it than that. There must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister.
You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered?
If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right.
Do you have a problem with that?
It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly, so... And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written his name on a shattered jar! Order! Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical. Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth.
Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony.
I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered.
You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood?
I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Interesting. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier.
It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case.
Ouch! Not as feeble as the judge's judgment. Yeah, no shit. You were an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally, I would have. But it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you do that for me? It seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came.
This is rather shocking.
To be safe, I wiped away the blood. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. Interesting. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes, I don't have any excuses for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident.
No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I've finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. Alright, I am risking a lot here. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? I knew it! She really didn't know! There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it.
But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them.
Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you.
But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece?
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective.
That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Ha! Can you believe that?
Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken.
Oh, that!
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness.
I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break the jar?
The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that?
No! Wait! I'm not the one on trial here!
Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question, what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence.
But why would Chief Gant do that?
In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear?
What happened afterwards?
Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister, Emma, killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the Chief's puppet. No! I did it on my own! Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client.
I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth.
Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap?
Is something wrong, Mr. Wright?
Lana may be right after all. What do you mean, right? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr.? Yes, I lie all of the time. Miss Guy, please testify once more. But, if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Sky, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw.
All right. The witness may testify once more for the final time.
Oh my god. Actual crime scene. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent.
Unbelievable! The body was impaled on the armor's sword?
You were the only one who saw that, if only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you.
Very well, Mr. Wright, please present this picture.
I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. It would appear as if there is something right here. But it won't let me open anything! Okay, let me see if I got this again. Hey, there's a picture here. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this. Because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Lana's picture inserted into the court record. Mr. Wright! That piece cut out from his vest! Could that be the cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe? What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Actual crime scene. When I arrived, Come now, Uji, this is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen.
Chief Gant!
What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. Grrr. Gah! So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence.
Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence?
No, I don't. But someone does. Someone? So what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death? Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt.
Is this true, Mr. Wright?
If I show that piece of evidence now, am I sure to be made out as the murderer?
Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries.
What do I do now? I'd better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall. I need to take another look at some of the evidence. There's something weird about this. I mean, and not just like the piece cut out. I may not have any other choice. Yes, Your Honor, I do have further evidence. All right, the time's finally come to show it to them. Those prints have got to be the Chief's.
Now then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence who show...
All right, before we do that, I don't like this.
It's a piece of leather cloth?
Yes, it most likely was cut from the victim's vest near his chest. What's this? There's a big handprint on it. Surely it must have been left on the cloth by whoever shoved the victim into the sword.
What? Whose fingerprints are on this?
I'm sure Righto has checked, haven't you?
Well, whose are they?
They're Miss Sky's. Miss Emma Sky's. What? They're mine? So I really did do it. See, I told you it was conclusive. But this was found in your safe. That means it's possible you forged it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any cloth in my safe. Do you really expect me to believe that? What? Give it up, Mr. Wright. It's over. You shouldn't have presented that. By presenting that evidence, you tied Emma Sky to Neil Marshall's death. No.
It appears we have our killer.
Okay, so... No! No! Everything hinged on that in the end. Okay, yeah, alright, so... I was hoping we would have some way out of that. Alright. But now I pretty much know how to get through this. So, it's not too much harder for me to figure it out, I think. Okay, so... Alright, Alright, I'm gonna try to blitz through this, so I'll be editing this out. And we'll be catching back up on everything. Okay, so I had to fast travel through all of that. And I didn't re-show it because it's a straight cut. So, lucky for you, but here we are, we're back. So we know that we cannot show the evidence. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie! Chief Gant! You opened my safe! I know you took what was inside! The conclusive evidence! So, I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area?
It looks like part of it's been cut off for some reason.
You mean you had this in your safe?
What? That means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department.
Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened.
What? You mean you admit to it?
I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, and that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence?
You mean those items in your safe, but why?
For insurance, of course. Insurance. I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed.
You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence?
What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar too? Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Righto, cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe? Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that being chief and all, but it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it then before it was too late. It's been a long battle, but the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now.
Alright, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall.
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes. At last, you finally brought it out into the open.
There's a handprint on this piece of cloth.
Your Honor, the prosecution requests that it be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly.
You mean...
It could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Ho ho ho! You're as slow on the uptick as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Wright had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know?
Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they?
Very well. I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted.
Emma Sky?
What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma, but why? Why didn't you tell me? Oh, you're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me.
So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
Hold it. How could you? You monster!
Miss Sky.
You knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. Ha, but I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges that the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Are you done yet? Like, before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh, and what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall?
What?
Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask?
It was Emma Sky, wasn't it?
I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about? I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. I'm lost. Like, I genuinely...
Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth... What could it possibly contradict?
Chief Grant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. So I'm genuinely lost. I'm gonna be honest here. I'm actually like at a loss for words. Can I take another look at this? This is a handprint, right? Yeah, someone left behind an oil stain on the fabric. Whoever it was, they must have had a really oily hand. Mr. Wright, think about it scientifically, huh? A more likely explanation is the person slipped and fell on a freshly waxed floor, getting wax all over their hand. Well, that would account for the amount of oil, I guess. Oh, it's fun watching you squirm, Righto.
This piece of evidence does seem to contradict something. Your outward appearance of mental
What am I doing? If this cloth was cut, then something's definitely not right about it. Okay, so the only thing I can think of is that it's the picture itself. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. Okay, so I should have gone with my first instinct here. I was like, it couldn't be the picture. I always get trapped in overthinking, and honestly, it's just because I'm near the end of the game. See where the piece of this his vest was cut out?
Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though.
Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured. Blood poured out from his mouth.
Oh, but that piece of cloth. Wait, there's no blood on it.
Ah! Since Miss Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armored sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago, that you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest. Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. Yeah! It's finally all over. One problem. We never proved that, he was the one who killed Goodman. That was close, Righto. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations.
What do you mean you refute his allegations?
You see that piece of cloth? Is illegal evidence.
Order! Order! What nonsense is this?
Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Uji? Earlier, Righto here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Righto? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time.
Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence.
At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair. Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son.
I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth?
True, illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person, assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal.
Well, Mr. Wright?
It seems at last the time for me to reveal my plan is We had a plan?!
Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposely and illegally concealed this piece of cloth?
I did not. I admit I refused to present it at one point. Though the evidence is illegal. No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then, it's that I couldn't. What do you mean? Sorry,
What do you mean you couldn't?
there are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Uchi, don't listen to his lies. He's nothing but a coward. You can't really believe. There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not?
Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now.
This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself inside your safe. It goes without saying I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here is the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and... Sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented?
That was shown only a few moments ago.
No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes. No! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant, the killer was you! No. Oh, okay, I'm not doing this. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum! For 2 years he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right.
If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me.
Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden, he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking the evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm going to hand all this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it, that accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Grrr. Leaving the prosecution's car aside, how could you get Miss Sky involved in all this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments in the glove. Yeah, it looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. I hate the fact that I liked this guy at first. I'm so mad. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They did their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. Because I wanna... No. Sorry, I was thinking out loud for just a second there. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Uji?
What?
Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Ah, sorry, old friend.
I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person.
Those days are gone now, Uji. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Wright here, and Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new beginning. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes. First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky? You no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today.
So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered.
I'm sorry, Miss Sky. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My. What high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows, a few years from now, you might just make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky, and to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Don't be such a tsundere, Edgeworth. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you, and yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it. I only did my job.
In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
Is there something amusing about all this? Why are you smiling?
It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains.
Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. That is all. This court is adjourned.
February 25th, 5:03 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. At long last, it's finally over. Oh. Emma! Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. just now, after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You Okay, I'm not rereading all this. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty, and to top it all, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding.
Oh, are you here because of my sister again?
Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal.
Me?
That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone.
Lana! Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know.
Well, I won't tell if you won't.
My lips are sealed. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course! You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back, and now you have! Oh, Emma. Aww. No, not the feels! I'm a sap for happy endings! No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in doing so, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it is from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. Where'd we get that? A fortune cookie? At least that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe.
Me?
Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. He was crying behind the tree. He's like me. Where was he hiding? I just came to say congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right. Well, I'll be going now. Tsundere. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realized today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth, not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right. You despise criminals, I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma. were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime, but they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright, and because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. I mean, we found pretty much all of this on our own. Sorry. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth, if you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know, it seems I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. Is this the end? I'd better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon. It seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation? For duckies, apparently. It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis! I will! Oh my god, reading through all of that with us. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I had faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself.
Well, don't go trucking off just yet, pal.
Huh? What is it, detective?
There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this.
But I thought you said it was okay.
Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story.
Huh?
Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either.
Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side.
Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here's the one who'll be footing the bill.
Screw you! You are lucky I'm a sap, huh?
What, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Huh?
Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys, let's go. Oh my god. All right. I absolutely loved this. This was great. All right, as much I have a lot to complain about this case. It was so convoluted. Honestly speaking, there was so much jumping around in this case that honestly, most of the time, I was just tearing my hair out. Like, flat out, I hated this case. But I gotta say, I also like it. because I think this is really the first case that I can say we really sat down and we figured things out for ourselves. Whereas any other time, we really had like a ton of help. I mean, we still had a ton of help here, but this was still probably like, in terms of us doing things, was probably the most investigative based case. So honestly speaking, I don't know what else to say. I absolutely loved this. I'm really excited for the next Ace Attorney game. I know that Star is going to be so pissed off at me because I played this off stream, because I've been streaming the all the other videos, but well, except for the last few ones I've been making, because we've been stuck in a sponsorship and I didn't want to interrupt my Ace Attorney content to showcase the sponsorship. And yeah, there's Meekins. I'm probably not going to sit all the way through this trailer, but honestly speaking, or maybe I will. No, I don't know. I think I'll probably just leave it alone. Just let the that go through. I plan on doing a video soon that talks about my favorite cases. I just want to take some time to cool down from the game a bit and basically just kind of mess around. Like, basically, I will just kind of chill out and really think about which cases I like the most. I'll be doing a tier list video to decide what my favorite cases were, and then we'll discuss it. But more than all of that, I do have to announce our next project. So this is going into this over stream Twitch content is Twitch content. I've probably already started playing Infinite Fusions by now. Hey Fox Gang, so during this video, I ended up mentioning 2 specific projects, but since the time that this video was being recorded, those plans have changed. I will not tell you what one of those plans were, because that's going to be announced sometime during the coming weeks, but the other one was the Infinite Fusions Nuzlocke. Sadly, I was having a hard time figuring out what the best rules were for making the project interesting, but also not too difficult. While I do enjoy a good hardcore Nuzlocke every once in a while, I wanted the game to be more enjoyable and more about showing off as many fusions as possible. So until I could solidify the rule set, I ended up deciding to quit that project, and we have since started a Pokemon Reborn Nuzlocke, much to the chagrin of quite a few of our chatters. Not naming any names. Sorry. In any case, hope you guys enjoyed the Ace Attorney content, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this video. But that's all I wanted to say. You guys have fun. All right, I'm out. We're going to see how well that goes. I'm probably still going to be playing it. And so if you guys ever want to go and check out that content, then please do not forget to go head over to twitch.tv/FGRolls. The link is down in the description below. It's always down in the description. You should go check it out. We stream our variety content for the most part pretty much every morning. Although with the recording style being the way it is now, it's possible that might change. I don't know. Possible. If you don't feel inclined to check out the content, that's fine. But I've started to feel I should put more segregation towards my YouTube and my Twitch content. But I can also officially announce our next real project on YouTube, which is we are going to be returning to the basics, aka the same as my last big project, a Pokemon Nuzlocke. Only this time, instead of Leaf Green, we're going to be attacking Soul Silver. And I'm not all that hype about it because I've gone through like 9 runs of Soul Silver by now and I've lost every single one. So this is going to be my 10th run and I want to make it my last run. We're going to be going all the way up to Red, baby. So wish me luck. See you guys then. I hope that everyone has a fantastic time and I'll see you guys at the next project. Till next time, everyone, this has been Fox Gaming of FGRolls, signing off. Hope you guys all have a good rest of your time. I guess I should also announce I'm going to go on a hiatus for just a little bit. Not a big one, maybe just 1 or 2 weeks between when this video goes live and when the next project starts. It's just so I can like get some time in there for editing. So till next time, everyone, Fox Gaming of FGRolls signing off. Catch you guys in the next video.